that was one of the coolest things. Like, I watched the documentary about the Ramones, and it had a lot of really great things in it, but the one thing I identified the most with that documentary was, I believe it was, I can't remember if it was Johnny or Dee Dee, but somebody was talking about how they were like a gang, and they had this kind of feeling, like they would show up to their shows, they wouldn't hang out with anybody else, they stuck to themselves, they had like a chip on their shoulder, and they were there to prove something. And I identify with that a great deal, because that's very much how it was in the beginning. Like, we were there for us, first and foremost. Like, we went up there, we did our thing, we didn't say our band name, we didn't tell people what songs were called, really. We just went and did it, and then we picked up our stuff and we left. We didn't hang out to really meet people or to get compliments or anything like that. We weren't interested in them, you know. So it was kind of a therapy for me at first because of 9/11, and then the band because in some way we had all in our own lives been the people that did not fit in or were built like other people, like we were talking about before, just not prone to violence, just not survivors in that regard, survivors in a different way, you know. And so then when we go to these shows, we started meeting these kids just like us, you know. And then it was like a circular, almost like a group therapy session. That was really exciting. We're just all working it out, you know, like, since we're very, very non-violent people in our everyday lives, our fans were very much the same. They're very much like shy, quiet loners. You know, you had to have some place you needed to kind of get that out, and our shows were the place to do it. And it was like the one place you can go where, you know, one of the things that's like a common misconception about the punk rock scene is that what's cool about it is that you can go and fit in because it's punk rock, but in actuality you can't. And I don't think enough people say this about it. Like, it was the same as being in high school with the jocks. I would go to punk clubs and get shoved by skinheads because I wasn't like them, which was just like getting shoved by jocks for wearing a Ramones shirt. I mean, it's the same exact thing. And so I had never wanted to be a part of that either. I never wanted any of us to be a part of that. You know, I don't have like fond memories of going to a punk club and seeing a band. I have fond memories of going to like a VFW hall and seeing a band, because that was self-created by the kids that didn't fit in the punk clubs, and that's where the real memories kind of come from. Those shows that we just created ourselves. You know, we had, and you know, and maybe it's not so much failure as much as it is just like not following through or just giving up. I think I was more of a person that gave up rather than failure. I didn't have, you know, what it took at the time, because I was very prone to get discouraged very quickly and stop doing what I was doing. With this band, I never wanted to give up, you know. But yeah, I think it takes a great deal of living. You have to live, you have to have experience. That's why it's probably going to take us a while to make a record, because we have to go have living experience, which we haven't had. We've had a different kind of experience, so we have to go find what it is we want to say now, or what we want to even play. But that's going to take a while. I see our first kind of lengthy break. I mean, by lengthy for this band probably only means about 6 months, if that. And you know, the way we are is we're the kind of guys where we get home anyway, and within you know, if we know we're not touring, within a couple weeks we start calling each other and talking about what each of us are doing, or oh, I've got this riff I'm working on, stuff like that. And so it'll probably happen sooner than later, but I mean, I know we're going to commit to trying to have at least 6 months off before we even talk about making something else. And then at that point, you know, hopefully we'll have done enough living to make something. Well, it's all your own perspective. That's how you escape it. You know, it's if you take it home with you. You know, you can escape it very easily. Sure, I mean, you're going to go to like a record store somewhere, or a mall, or a supermarket, and somebody's going to spot you, but, you know, but it's all in your own perception of, you know, like, I don't, nobody in this band takes it home with them at all. They don't, like, live this every day. I think because I don't like any kind of term that to me seems like seems lazy, or kind of an easy term for something that's not easy to describe. I also think I think it's frustrating because we were so the opposite of an emo band that we couldn't get booked playing shows. because there was this kind of budding emo scene, and we were touring with Christian metal bands. Those are the only bands that would, there's very few kinds of, or other bands that were very off-kilter as well. Those are the only kind of bands that would take us out. So it was frustrating, and like we were almost created in opposition to that. We were like the answer to what was happening. We were the complete opposite. So we'd get booked on a bill in like a hall or something, and we were the odd man out. There was only about 2 kids there to see us, and they were wearing black just like us. And that's the way it was. Like, we didn't fit in with this kind of dungaree, moppy hair, like, whining about girl type nonsense that's still kind of happening. And also what's frustrating about it, like, I just wish people would realize, like, what happens with My Chemical Romance is completely exclusive from any other kind of genre of music. Like, what we have is extremely special, and we worked very hard to get it there. So it's an insulting term in the fact that we're lumped in with bands that didn't create that. They didn't put in the work, and they didn't slug it out in the van to create something that was unique for us and our fans. It's just for us and the fans. It's not for anybody else. If the fan base is huge, that's awesome. If it's small, same thing, We just wanted an environment where we felt safe, they felt safe, and we had a great time. And so it's completely exclusive. Like, the whole phenomena of the band has nothing to do with what people are calling emo. And I think people try to often say, oh, well, this is like this or this is like this. It's not at all like that. It wasn't founded on the same things. The blood that went into it was different. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't have the spit, doesn't have the grit of it. It's not unique. It's just pop punk all over again with really, like, now it's pop punk with eyeliner. That's all it is. It's boring. It's, really redundant. So I think that's why it's frustrating, and because it was difficult for us starting out because we were nothing like that.